Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Blues Focus TV for yet another transfer roundup video. It's good to be back doing another one of these. There are interesting videos to do, review potential targets that Blues may have previously looked at or currently looking at, depending on where the situation's at when this video's out, really, I suppose. But yeah, I've got a couple to mention before I kind of get into the more, I suppose, mainstream targets that have been mentioned recently. I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was two that I missed out that I meant to mention on the last episode that I just want to quickly touch on in case Blues reignite their interest in either of those players. Like we have recently reignited interest in a player that I reported on a while ago on one of the transfer Rumour roundup videos, and that is Jordan Graham. But we'll get to him a little bit later on. But let's get straight into things, I suppose. Really, yeah. Let's talk about Liam Miller. Obviously, he was on loan at Charlton last season under Lee Bowyer. A Lee Bowyer signing seemed to really like him. Did well in his first, full professional season. Made 27 appearances. I know there's a couple of injuries here and there that probably stopped him from playing more than that. But 3 goals and 6 assists, 9 goal contributions in 27 appearances for your first professional season in professional football. So no, I'd say that was a good return for a young player. Blues were linked with him about a month ago. I remember seeing it on the Birmingham City news page on Twitter through the Birmingham Mail. So yeah, whether that comes to light, it wouldn't surprise me if that one reignited. But we were linked a while ago. Moving on to the next player who we were linked with a few weeks ago that I think a lot of Blues fans might have heard about. Didn't really receive a great reaction, it has to be said, and that was Conor Wickham. Obviously, coming off the back of a poor season, realistically, with Sheffield Wednesday, and they got relegated. So that's all that needs to be really said in the end. I think he only scored 3 goals in the end. I remember seeing one of them against Bristol City. But yeah, no, he played. I think what I read earlier, he played about 20 games. Obviously, he had a couple of injuries as well. No surprise there because it's Conor Wickham. But yeah, no, he's been very unfortunate. Conor Wickham has always had potential, but has just never quite lived up to that due to injury. So whether Blues could get the best out of him if we did, reignite that interest, obviously it has been a while now since that rumor cropped up. Then maybe, but I feel like the wages would be too much, and plus we've already got a player like that in Duke. Maybe Wickham's a bit more mobile, but I still don't think he's as clinical as Dukey in those situations, and certainly nowhere near as fit. So yeah, no, I just wanted to cover off those two targets because I missed them out on the last video. So I thought I'd bring them to light quickly in this one. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. Starting off with Alen Halilovic. So the contract. What's going on, guys? I mean, obviously Blues. I think everyone was under the assumption that Blues might possibly be teasing Alen Halilovic re-signing when they went back and liked the tweet of when he signed. Why they did that, I don't know. If it was a tease or not, if it was an accident, who knows? I don't feel it was just one of them that was just a bit weird. It's like surely if they're doing that, you'd think, okay, there's something's on the cards here. But you never know. Could have just been a mistake. Who knows? Obviously, it was reported by We Are Birmingham that the negotiations have fallen through. Obviously, I hope that that's not the case. I believe there's still a bit of hope, to be honest. Obviously, he posted a photo with Ivan Sunjic the other day on his story, putting hashtag BCFC and stuff, or a hashtag mate, and then the two emojis or whatever. So I think that was what he posted. But yeah, so no, it's little things like that that still give you that little bit of false hope. But no, I still believe Blues can pull this deal off. I don't see why not, but if it falls through, I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think we're better off pulling this deal through and getting it over the line, because I do really believe that we could build a team around Alen Halilovic. Because he is one of those players, he shouldn't be at championship level, but unfortunately injuries have held him back in his career. And, we've seen the best of him at Blues so far, towards the end of the season anyway, but there's so much more that could be shown. Because, his potential, it's very high when you're being called the Croatian Messi. And obviously he's been at clubs like Barcelona and AC Milan. So, that pressure is always going to follow him. But no, I'd personally like to see the deal, go across the line, because I do believe he could really be an integral piece to this Birmingham City squad under Lee Bowyer. But we'll see. We'll see. It's probably like the longest transfer saga in Blues history, to be honest. But who knows? Anyway, moving on. Onto another contract situation. I feel like we should just get these contract situations out in the open, starting with the probably more negative ones, I suppose, because it doesn't sound like they're going too well, or nothing positive has come yet. And that's rumours from Football Insider is the source, and that's Amari Miller moving to Leeds. Now, I have varying opinions on this. I feel like from a career development point of view, it doesn't make sense. I think you get more first team football at Blues, particularly after how he performed back end of last season. I think he made 6 appearances in the first team under Bowyer, and I honestly feel like, or at the time, I certainly felt like he was going to kick on into next season and could get a lot more starts than that, over double, easy. So no, I'd be gutted, really, if he went to Leeds. I mean, obviously it's a Premier League club. Leeds are a huge club, and that is hard to refuse. And probably going to pay him more money, let's be honest. But I doubt he'd be moving for the money. As a young player, you want to progress your career. And who knows what Leeds might have promised him. He might get to touch the first team. I personally can't see him in the Leeds first team. There's so many good players in that Leeds squad. I can't see it happening, unfortunately. But maybe if there was a deal on the cards of he moves to Leeds and loan back to Blues or loans elsewhere, you never know, then that'd be great, I suppose. We still get to develop him. But personally, I'd like to see him stay as a Birmingham City player, stay on our books and really progress, because I think he can. And I just feel like he'd be better off at Blues for the development of his career. But you'll never know what Leeds might have promised him. And, if they have promised him a form of first team professional football, then I don't blame him. That's fair. Even if it's a loan back to Blues, then that's still good. Especially if we can. I don't think we will get any money for him, unfortunately, because I don't actually think we have him on a professional contract. So that is obviously a frustrating one that we might have missed out there, on a potential fee. However, whatever he chooses to do, it does sound like he's closing in on a move to Leeds. And if that is so, then I wish him all the best. But I'd love to see him stay at Blues personally. Same for Halilovic. Anyway, moving on to more positive contract talks. Ryan Stirk and Caleb Boyd-Muntz have both agreed new deals at the club. Boyd-Muntz agreeing a new 2-year deal with Blues, and Ryan Stirk agreeing a 1-year deal with a 1-year option in the club's favour. So that's always good. And it's great to see young players agreeing professional contracts. And I think these two, they deserve it. They're both 2 fantastic young and up-and-coming midfielders. Ryan Stirk showed a fair bit towards the end of last season. And obviously we've seen bits and parts of Boyd-Muntz, even under Clotet. I know Pep, he always spoke highly of him. I remember when he came on against Bristol City 2 seasons ago, he looked decent. He's always looked a reasonable player whenever he's played for Blues, but at academy level, he's something else. He's on fire. As soon as he came back from injury, he was firing in the goals. And obviously he plays for Northern Ireland at youth international level as well. And it wouldn't surprise me if he made it all the way into their national squad one day. So no, there's definitely potential in Boyd-Muntz. And I think that's why the club have invested in that time. Despite him having such a long-term injury, they still see that potential, and he's not one of the youngest youth academy products either. So I definitely think Boyd Muntz has a future. But there's certainly going to be a lot of competition, that's for sure. Because as we all know, Charlie Lakin has also agreed a new deal at Blues, a new 1 year extension, and that's also fantastic news. But there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of competitiveness in the midfield area going into next season, because obviously we've got a lot of first team midfielders anyway. You know, the likes of Ivan Sunjic and Gary Gardner and so on. Even Riley McGree at times. Obviously, we've got him for another half a season, which is great. Great that we've re-signed him. And then obviously there's one or two others that you can say can play centre mid as well. But just those three youngsters in particular, I feel like it is a battle between those three: Boyd Muntz, Ryan Stirk, and Charlie Lakin. You know, it's whoever utilises their opportunities when they come. Obviously, we've seen bits of Lakin as well, and who knows? Who knows? He seems to have done really, really well at Ross County, and he had a great pre-season under Aitor Karanka. And I remember being quite shocked when we decided to let him go out on loan. I was surprised, because he did have a strong pre-season, and he said it himself. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of competition between those three young players, particularly obviously all playing that centre mid role, but they're all very different players. It's just who's more effective in the Lee Bowyer Blues system, and that's what we're going to find out next season. And I'm excited for that. It's going to be an intriguing battle, it has to be said. So moving on from current Blues players that have extended their deals, to some more transfer rumours. A lot more recent ones, has to be said. Obviously, Blues have been linked. We'll start off with Josh Windass. Now, I wouldn't be against this at all. I think if you keep Josh Windass fit, he is a dangerous striker. And if he gets the right service, he can be, you know, one of those 15 goal a season strikers. And you know, if he's in good form, then I do believe he could hit that 20 mark. He's just a natural kind of poacher, but also a good finisher as well. Very clinical when given the chance. However, he is a bit of a confidence player, like Scott Hogan. You know, needs that arm around him. But I think Lee Bowyer can do that. We've seen Lee Bowyer do that already since he's come to Blues, and just bring this team to life. So I think Windass would be a good transfer. Personally, I know it's been that rumor has been met with mixed reaction. I think a lot of people may be disappointed that we're not looking at bigger targets, but I think this is a big target for Blues right now, because you have to understand that it's not going to be, you know, this quick turnaround. We're not going to be pushing for the top six instantly, like Lebo you said. This is a long-term project, and this new season is just about building something really, and just having a comfortable finish, I believe. And I'm excited for that. I firmly believe Bowyer can bring that to Blues, and I think Windass would be a good addition to play a part in that. Obviously, last season, Sheffield Wednesday made 41 appearances, so played the majority of the season. And for his injury record, that is quite good. He was impressive at Wigan before that as well, to be fair, except obviously they got relegated. So in the end, he finished on 9 goals and 6 assists. So a decent return, 15 goal contributions in 41 games. It's not world beating, but it's good at championship level. It does a job. And obviously 9 goals is more than Dukey and Hogan have got this season. Obviously not combined, but you know, their individual goal tallies aren't as high as that this season. But I believe if Dukey was playing under Bowyer all season, Dukey probably had matched the 15 goals he got the season before, if not more. You know, obviously he got, I think it's something mad like 5 or 6 goals in those last 10 games. So yeah, it'd certainly be an interesting signing, Windass. I feel like he offers a lot of energy, a bit more pace. I think we lack that, but just venom as well. You know, being a bit more clinical. Give Scott Hogan some competition, because I do feel like if Windass was to rival either of the two strikers, it would be Hogan. And they're sort of similar, but I'd say Hogan was a little bit more of a poacher than Windass. But we'll see. We'll see. Either way, I think it's a good target for Blues, and I'd be happy to see the move come to fruition, I suppose. So yeah. Moving on to the next target. This has kind of come off the back of a very impressive performance against England in the Euros after that 0-0 draw, and that's Scotland's Stephen O'Donnell. He's been linked with 5 championship clubs since that game, one of them being Blues. I personally was very, very impressed by his performance. Currently a Motherwell player, but I was blown away, to be honest. I was quite shocked at how quick he was. He's not the youngest of players. I think he's 29. And yeah, no, I was very impressed by his high energy. He was one of the more determined players on that pitch. And a lot of Scotland's attacks and, any Scotland crosses pretty much came through him because they were having a lot of success down that right-hand side. Good attacking fullback. Defensively, he was quite sound as well because Scotland was so hard to break down in that 0-0 draw, as you'll all be aware, I'm sure, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I was impressed with what I saw of O'Donnell. However, his statistics in the Scottish Premiership this season, that they're all right. They're not bad. 29 appearances, 2 assists, no goals. I wouldn't expect him to get any goals as a fullback. But as an attacking fullback, I'd say only 2 assists in 29 appearances on paper doesn't look good, but then you can't know how much a player like that contributes to the team without watching him. And I can't personally say that I've sat and watched Motherwell all season. So yeah, no, but from what I've seen of him in the Euros so far, he's looked like a proper baller for Scotland. So I wouldn't be against it from what I've seen so far, but we all know players that can perform well at international level and then not turn up for club. But I doubt that'd be the case. I'm sure. Anyway, moving on. Like as I mentioned earlier, Blues have reignited their interest in Jordan Graham, who is soon to be a free agent at the end of the month. Um, not agreeing a contract with Gillingham. He might still agree that contract. I don't know, but I think he is looking for Championship football, or maybe a promotion chasing League One side. Gillingham didn't have a bad season, in fairness. I think they finished 10th or 11th. I think it was 11th in the end. But his stats, I was very impressed. I think this is probably the most accomplished stats for an individual season that I've read out on this video so far. And that's 39 appearances. Graham's always had injury issues. That's what held him back at Wolves and a few loan spells, particularly at Oxford, stuff like that. But at Gillingham, he's just set the world alight. He's finally managed to have that season that we all knew he could have. And 39 appearances, 12 goals, 6 assists. Very impressive. 18 goal contributions in 39 games at League One level, I think is quite impressive and could do a job. And as Lee Bowyer has said, when he's managing his own transfers, he's looking for players that fit his system. He's not looking to just buy players for the sake of it. He's looking for players that he believes would fit his style of play. So obviously it would bring a bit more competition to those wide areas, particularly if we kept Halilovic or Miller, because obviously we've seen them both play wide in Bowyer's system. And then obviously we've already got some high caliber players in Ivan Sanchez and Jeremy Bella. So, it'd be tough for Graham, in fairness. He's not exactly going to walk into the side. He's going to have to earn it if Blues did sign him. But overall, I would be happy if we did sign him. I think it's a step in the right direction. He's from the season he's just had at Gillingham. I think he's earned a Championship move. So I'd be excited to see him if he moved to Blues, if I'm being perfectly honest. Anyway, moving on to Sam Cosgrove, a potential departure. So yeah, obviously, as I've mentioned earlier, the potential departure of obviously Halilovic not agreeing a contract, and then Amari Miller to Leeds. Another rumoured departure, not on a permanent though, is Sam Cosgrove. There's a lot of loan interest in him. I think Bowyer wants to loan him out to a League One club because, as Bowyer has said before, he believes Cosgrove has that Kiefer Moore mould. But Kiefer Moore had to be successful on a regular basis at League One level before he could make it in the Championship. Because I remember he made the instant step up to the Championship, and he just wasn't. He was nowhere near the player he is now. So you look at him going back to take that experience in League One on a regular basis, to come into the Championship and now probably be one of the most, I'd say, well-rounded strikers in the division. And I think he could bag 20 or so next season under Mick McCarthy at Cardiff. And I agree with Bowyer when he says Cosgrove has that mould, because I do think Cosgrove has that mould. But as we've seen so far, I could get drilled for this, to be honest, but we've seen that his level of or style of play that he played in Scotland, it's clearly not matching the energy of the English Championship. And that just has to be said. And he's playing in a decent Aberdeen squad, scoring quite a few goals. So, and from what we've seen of him so far, he's just, I think, in all honesty, I just think he's been a bit too lightweight, which is weird because he's a big fella. He loses the ball a bit too easily, but his ball control generally, his first touch and stuff, is decent. But he's just not quite got into the right areas yet. He's been a bit unlucky. I thought he could have kicked on next season, maybe after a good pre-season, but I think a loan move to a League One club, but particularly like Ipswich, who are linked with him, I think Paul Cook could really help him out. And I think Ipswich could develop him well, and he could, you never know, he might even return to Blues in January, having had such a good first half of the season. You never know. But I'd back him to do well at Ipswich. So I wouldn't be against the move, just so long as we brought in another striker. I don't want it to be another Che Adams where, we let go of a striker and don't replace him. Obviously, he's not at the caliber of Che Adams yet. If ever. But no, I mean, we all saw how good Che Adams was against England the other night. Not only as a striker, obviously he missed 3 good chances, but as a playmaker, he was phenomenal. And having seen him play in the Premier League a few times at Southampton, he does have that playmaking ability, and we've seen him link up with Juki. So no, it was good to see Adams do well on the international stage. It's just a shame that it had to be against England, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Before we wrap up, guys, I just want to quickly touch on 2 academy signings. I remember a month ago it came out in the Birmingham Mail that Blues were looking at Josh Home, attacking midfielder from the Newcastle Youth Academy. It appears Blues have signed him on a 2-year scholarship, very highly rated. I wish him all the best at Blues. I've heard good things so far, so hopefully, you never know, we could see him in the first team in a year or two. If we're lucky, I mean, Lee Bowyer does seem to be investing a fair bit of time in the youth academy, so who knows how long it could take. But it's good to see that we're doing some good academy business already. And then obviously, I have mentioned this link before on a transfer rumour roundup, and that is former Rangers keeper Brian Kinnear, who is now signed for Birmingham City and will be part of the youth setup. Rumoured to be quite a good goalkeeper, but he was part of that Rangers group, I think, that broke COVID regulations or whatever, and has never really broke back into the Rangers Academy since. So I know a few of that group have already made moves elsewhere, particularly to England, like the likes of Edmondson, who just had a spell at Derby, and I think Derby want him back. And in fairness, he was quite impressive. So no, I think it's a good move because Blues are lacking some young keepers at the moment in the youth academy. So I think it's a good move for all parties. And obviously, I do think he actually had a trial and did well at that trial. Same as Home, who also had a trial and performed well. So whether we could see either of those two in the first team in a few years, we'll have to wait and see. But I think he's got a fair bit of competition because Neil Etheridge is obviously a quality keeper. And Zach Geacock looks like he's got a real future ahead of him, to be fair, whenever he has featured in the first team. And I look forward to hopefully seeing more of him in the future, but he's got some tough competition in Neil Etheridge, that's for sure. But that wraps up the video, guys. Obviously, Blues have been linked with a goalkeeper coach over at Charlton, Andy Marshall. I am going to do a separate video talking about that, so we can just look at what who is Andy Marshall and what he could possibly bring to the Blues coaching setup. But we all knew that Bowyer had one more coach in mind to bring in, but he's taken his time to do so. He's not rushed it, but it's no surprise that he's gone and raided from Charlton. According to some reliable sources over at Charlton, some journalists and stuff I've seen on Twitter, and it's been retweeted by Brian Dick and stuff like that, that Andy Marshall could be coming over to Blues. So yeah, no, I think it's good that he's looking at people he's already worked with, and yeah, he's supposed to be, from what I've heard, as well as a good goalkeeper coach, he's just generally a good football coach as well. So we shall see. We shall see. I'll definitely do a separate video on that to give you guys more information on the new coach that could be joining Lee Bowyer's backroom staff. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Thank you for joining me for yet another transfer rumour roundup video. Loved it as always. And yeah, if you've enjoyed the video, please drop a like and check out all the links in the description. And I'll see you in the next one. Keep right on.